Hello there, and welcome again to the Dozing Explorer. I'm so glad you found this tranquil space tonight. Settle in, allow yourself to become comfortable, and let the concerns of the waking world begin to recede. There is nothing required of you here but to rest. Find a position that feels deeply supportive. Close your eyes if you wish, and permit my voice to be a steady, calming presence as your mind prepares for repose. Tonight, our path leads us deep into the lush rainforests of Mesoamerica, into the heart of the remarkable Mayan civilization. We will not be studying history dates or archaeological complexities, but rather wandering through the atmosphere of their world, the towering stone cities wrapped in jungle green, the intricate understanding of time and cosmos, the artistry woven into their daily lives. We will explore their achievements not as artifacts, but as expressions of a profound and enduring human spirit, adapting to its unique environment. We will imagine the sounds of the rainforest canopy, the coolness of sacred cenotes, the precise alignment of temple windows with celestial events. We'll contemplate a civilization that measured time in vast cyclical epochs and developed a sophisticated written language to record its histories and beliefs. This journey is an invitation to connect with a different rhythm of life, one deeply intertwined with the natural world and the movements of the stars, offering a perspective of depth and continuity. And just before we embark, if these explorations provide a helpful pathway to relaxation for you, please consider liking and subscribing. It's a simple gesture that helps others seeking solace and rest find this channel, and it supports the continuation of these thoughtful journeys. But for now, release that thought. Your sole focus is your own deep comfort, your own release into stillness. Breathe slowly, feeling the steady rhythm within you. Grant your mind the freedom to drift among these ancient wonders, or to simply let go completely, surrendering to sleep whenever it arrives. Let the verdant past envelop you. Let the journey begin. Deep within lush rainforests, a remarkable civilization once flourished. Imagine an environment teeming with life, a dense canopy overhead, filtering the sunlight into shifting patterns on the forest floor. It was within this vibrant and challenging world that the Mayan people built their complex society. For centuries, they carved out spaces for agriculture and monumental cities amidst the pervasive green, developing a unique way of life deeply connected to the rhythms and resources of the tropical forest. Their story is intertwined with the very ecosystem they inhabited, a testament to human ingenuity flourishing within a world of intense natural power. The Maya lived in a world woven from stone cities and dense jungle. Their civilization was characterized by impressive urban centers featuring pyramids, temples, palaces, and plazas, all constructed from locally quarried limestone. Yet these cities did not stand in isolation. They were islands within a vast sea of rainforest. The jungle constantly pressed at the edges of cleared land, providing sustenance and raw materials, but also posing challenges. This interplay between monumental stone architecture and the ever-present, encroaching wilderness defined the Mayan landscape, creating a unique setting where culture and nature were in constant dialogue. Their story unfolds over thousands of years, a slow and patient chronicle. The Mayan civilization was not a brief flash, but a long-enduring culture with roots stretching back well over 2,000 years before the Common Era. From early village settlements, it gradually developed through pre-classic, classic, and post-classic periods, each marked by distinct cultural achievements and shifts. This immense time span allowed for the gradual development of their sophisticated writing, mathematics, astronomy, and art, reflecting a civilization capable of building upon its past with remarkable continuity and depth. Their history is a study in long-term cultural evolution. They observed the sky with dedication. The movements of the sun, moon, planets, and stars were of paramount importance to the Maya. Astronomer priests meticulously tracked celestial cycles, Driven by both practical needs like regulating agriculture and deep cosmological beliefs, they developed sophisticated methods for predicting astronomical events, viewing the heavens as a realm of divine order and influence that directly impacted life on Earth. Their gaze was constantly turned upwards, seeking understanding in the celestial patterns. Their world was centered in what is now Mexico and Central America. The Mayan heartland encompassed a diverse range of environments, from the volcanic highlands of Guatemala to the dense lowland rainforests of Belize and the Petén region, and extending into the drier plains of the Yucatan Peninsula. This geographical area, rich in resources but also presenting environmental challenges like variable rainfall, shaped the development of their distinct regional cultures and city-states. It was a broad territory united by shared cultural threads. Imagine cities rising silently above the green canopy. Picture the view from above, a vast, unbroken expanse of rainforest stretching to the horizon. Then, emerging from this sea of green, the stark, geometric forms of limestone pyramids and temple complexes, their summits catching the sunlight. These urban centers, often built on elevated ground, stood as monumental assertions of human presence and organization within the wild landscape, hubs of ceremony, power, and population amidst the verdure. The air was warm, filled with the sounds of unseen creatures. Life in the Mayan world would have been immersed in the sensory richness of the tropics. The constant warmth, the pervasive humidity, and the complex symphony of the rainforest, the calls of birds like parrots and toucans, the chatter of monkeys, the hum of insects, the occasional roar of a jaguar that formed the perpetual background soundtrack. It was an environment alive with sound and presence, even when the sources remained hidden within the foliage. Water was precious, often stored in vast underground caves called cenotes. Particularly in the northern Yucatan Peninsula, surface rivers are scarce. The Maya relied heavily on natural sinkholes or cenotes, which exposed the underlying freshwater aquifer. These deep, often circular pools were not just vital sources of drinking water, but were also considered sacred places, portals to the underworld, Xibalba, in Mayan cosmology. Access to and control over these precious water sources was fundamental to the location and prosperity of settlements. Their civilization was not a single empire, but a network of city-states. Unlike the Aztecs or Incas, who formed large, centralized empires, the classic Maya world was politically fragmented. It consisted of numerous independent city-states, each controlling its surrounding territory. These states frequently interacted through alliances, trade, and warfare, but no single ruler ever united the entire Mayan region under one banner. It was a complex political landscape of shifting powers and allegiances. Each city had its own rulers, its own history, its own rhythm. Cities like Tikal, Calakmul, Palenque, and Copan each had their own royal dynasties, patron deities, unique artistic styles, and distinct historical trajectories. While sharing a common cultural foundation, they competed, cooperated, and developed along individual paths, creating a rich tapestry of regional variation within the broader Mayan civilization. Every major center possessed its own distinct identity. The Maya developed one of the most accurate calendar systems ever created. Driven by their focus on celestial cycles and the sacred nature of time, Mayan astronomers achieved remarkable precision. Their calculation of the length of the solar year, for example, was slightly more accurate than the Gregorian calendar we use today. This sophistication allowed them to track astronomical events, regulate agriculture, and structure their ceremonial life with extraordinary consistency over vast periods. Their measurement of time's passage was profoundly refined. They tracked vast cycles of time far beyond human lifespans. Mayan cosmology encompassed immense temporal scales. Their long count calendar, for instance, measured time in cycles lasting thousands of years, placing human history within a much grander cosmic framework. This perspective, looking both deep into the past and far into the future, reflected a profound contemplation of eternity and humanity's place within the unfolding ages of the universe. Time was conceived on a truly epic scale. Their long count calendar marked time from a mythical creation date. The long count system reckoned dates as the number of days elapsed since a specific starting point, equivalent to August 11, 3114 BCE in our calendar. This date represented a previous creation event in their mythology. Major cycles within the long count, such as the Baktun, roughly 394 years, marked significant epochs, and their completion was often commemorated with ceremonies and inscriptions. It provided a continuous historical count across generations. They conceived of time not as a line, but as repeating, interwoven cycles. While the long count provided a linear framework, the Maya also emphasized the cyclical nature of time. Events and influences associated with specific days in their sacred calendars were expected to recur when those days returned in later cycles. History was seen partly as a repeating pattern, with the past informing the present and the future. Time was a spiral, not just an arrow. They tracked a 260-day sacred calendar called the Tzolk'in. This fundamental calendar combined a cycle of 13 numbers with a cycle of 20-day names, like Imix, Ik, Akbal. Each unique combination formed a specific day designation within the 260-day count. This calendar was primarily used for divination, scheduling ceremonies, and determining auspicious dates for important activities. It represented the sacred rhythm underlying human life and cosmic events. They also used a 365-day solar calendar called the Harb, similar to our own. The Harb approximated the solar year and was used primarily for agricultural and seasonal purposes. It consisted of 18 months of 20 days each, plus a final unlucky period of 5 days called the Wayeb. While less accurate than their calculation of the true solar year, the Harb provided the essential framework for organizing the practical aspects of the annual cycle. It was the clock of the seasons. These two calendars interlocked like gears, creating a 52-year cycle called the calendar round. A specific date required designations from both the Tzolk'in and the Harb calendars, e.g. 4 Ahol, 8 Kumku. Since 260 and 365 share common factors, a particular combination would only repeat every 18,180 days, or approximately 52 years. This 52-year period, the calendar round, was a significant cycle in Mayan timekeeping, roughly equivalent to a generation. The interlocking cycles created a larger temporal pattern. They understood the concept of zero centuries before many other cultures. Essential for their sophisticated place-value numerical system was the independent invention of a concept and symbol for zero. This mathematical breakthrough allowed them to represent large numbers efficiently and perform complex calculations needed for their calendar and astronomy. It signifies a profound level of abstract mathematical thought achieved remarkably early. Their symbol for zero was often a shell shape, representing completion or emptiness. Visually distinct from the dots and bars used for other numbers, the Mayan symbol for zero often resembled a stylized shell. This choice might reflect ideas of completion, the end of a count, or perhaps the emptiness inherent in the concept of null value. Its presence was crucial for the positional notation that underpinned their mathematical achievements. It was a symbol for absence, enabling representation of presence. Their mathematical system used a base 20 for decimal count, perhaps inspired by fingers and toes. Unlike our base 10 system, Mayan mathematics was based on powers of 20. Numbers were written vertically, with positions representing units, 20s, 400s, 26 20, 8000s, 26 26 20, and so on. This vigesimal system likely originated from counting using both fingers and toes, grounding their abstract mathematics in the human form. They used only 3 symbols, a dot, a bar, and a shell, to represent any number. The elegance of the Mayan system lay in its simplicity. A dot signified 1, a bar signified 5, and the shell symbol signified 0. By combining dots up to 4 and bars up to 3 within each positional level, and using the 0 symbol to indicate empty positions, they could write numbers of immense magnitude with remarkable economy and clarity. It was a system of profound numerical elegance. A dot represented 1, a bar represented 5. Numbers from 1 to 19 were built up additively using these symbols. 1 was a single dot, 2 was 2 dots, 5 was a bar, 6 was a bar, and 1 dot, 10 was 2 bars, and 19 was 3 bars and 4 dots. This clear and logical structure formed the basis for each level in their place value system. Simple components created numerical complexity. They could perform complex calculations, predicting astronomical events with precision. Using their base 20 system and their deep understanding of cycles, Mayan astronomers could calculate planetary positions, predict eclipses, and determine the precise length of the solar year and lunar month with an accuracy unmatched in Europe until centuries later. Their mathematics was a powerful tool for deciphering the intricate rhythms of the cosmos. Their understanding of time's cycles shaped their entire worldview. Time was not merely a way to measure duration for the Maya. It was a fundamental sacred force that influenced all aspects of existence. The repeating cycles of the calendars were believed to carry specific auguries and divine influences. Understanding these cycles was essential for maintaining harmony between the human world and the cosmos, guiding everything from royal succession to planting crops. Time was the organizing principle of reality. The end of a long count cycle in 2012 was misinterpreted as an end-of-the-world prediction. The long count calendar marked the completion of its 13th Baktun cycle on December 23, 2012. Modern popular culture widely misinterpreted this date as a Mayan prophecy of apocalypse. However, for the ancient Maya, the completion of such a cycle simply signified the end of one great epoch and the beginning of another, an occasion for ceremony and renewal, not destruction. It was the turning of a page, not the end of the book. For the Maya, it simply marked the quiet turning of a great cosmic page. Just as our calendar rolls over from December 31st to January 1st, the end of the 13th Baktun represented a significant but natural transition within their vast conception of time. It was analogous to the odometer on a car reaching a significant number and rolling over to start again, marking a milestone within a much longer, ongoing journey. It was a moment of cyclical completion, not finality. They recorded important dates on stone monuments called stelae. Across the Mayan world, rulers erected tall, sculpted stone slabs known as stelae, often paired with round altars. These monuments were typically carved with portraits of the ruler and lengthy hieroglyphic inscriptions detailing their ancestry, key life events, birth, accession, marriage, military victories, and important ritual dates usually recorded in the long count. They served as public proclamations of power and historical records etched in stone. Time was a sacred, living entity in their cosmology. The various cycles of the calendar were not just abstract measurements but were often personified as divine burdens carried by specific gods. The passage of time was seen as a procession of these divine bearers, each day inheriting the sacred influences of its position within the multiple interlocking cycles. Time itself possessed a spiritual dimension, actively shaping destiny. They calculated the length of the solar year with remarkable accuracy. Through centuries of meticulous observation, Mayan astronomers determined the length of the tropical year to be approximately 365.242 days. This is incredibly close to the modern value, about 365.2422 days, and slightly more accurate than the 365.45 days implied by the Gregorian calendar's leap year system. This precision highlights their sophisticated observational methods and mathematical prowess. Their Their system allowed for immense spans of time to be recorded easily. The place-value nature of the long-count calendar, combined with its base 20 structure, made it straightforward to record dates stretching millions or even billions of years into the past or future. While primarily used for historical dates, the system possessed the capacity to handle truly astronomical timescales, reflecting their profound contemplation of deep time. Mayan astronomers carefully charted the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. Observing the sky was a state-sponsored activity crucial for both religious and practical purposes. Astronomer priests used dedicated observation points, often aligning buildings with key celestial rising or setting points to track the regular paths of celestial bodies. They paid particular attention to the sun for seasons and the calendar, the moon for eclipse prediction, and the bright planets, especially Venus. The sky was a celestial clock and a divine script. Cities often contained dedicated observatory structures. While formal observatories with telescopes did not exist, certain buildings within Mayan cities appear specifically designed for astronomical observation. These structures often feature specific window alignments or sightlines oriented towards key positions on the horizon where the sun, moon, or Venus would rise or set on significant dates. Such as solstices or equinoxes, architecture was aligned with the cosmos. The Caracol building at Chichen Itza has windows aligned with astronomical events. This unusual round tower, named Caracol, snail, for its internal spiral staircase, is widely believed to have served as an astronomical observatory. Several of its small, narrow window openings align precisely with the northernmost and southernmost setting points of Venus, as well as potentially other celestial phenomena. It stands as a silent testament to the importance of planetary observation in Mayan culture. They created detailed tables predicting the cycles of Venus. The Dresden Codex, one of the surviving Mayan books, contains extensive and remarkably accurate tables charting the synodic period of Venus, the time it takes to reappear at the same point in the sky relative to the Sun, about 584 days. These tables allowed Mayan astronomers to predict the appearances of Venus as morning and evening star and its points of inferior and superior conjunction with impressive precision over long periods. Venus was associated with warfare and important state events. For the Maya, Venus was not just a bright point of light, but a powerful celestial entity, often associated with the god Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl, and linked to warfare, sacrifice, and the timing of royal accessions or military campaigns. The ability to predict Venus's appearances, particularly its first appearance as morning star after inferior conjunction, heliacal rising, was considered vital knowledge for rulers and priests. Its movements held potent omens. They could predict solar and lunar eclipses with impressive accuracy. The Dresden Codex also contains tables that allowed Mayan astronomers to predict potential eclipse seasons, the periods when the Sun, Moon, and Earth align correctly for eclipses to occur. While they likely couldn't predict with certainty whether a specific eclipse would be visible from their location, their understanding of the lunar cycles enabled them to identify the danger periods with remarkable skill, knowledge likely holding great power for the ruling elite. Their understanding of celestial cycles was woven into their religion and daily life. Astronomy was not a separate academic pursuit for the Maya. It was deeply integrated into their cosmology, mythology, divination, agriculture, architecture, and political affairs. The rhythms of the heavens provided the fundamental structure for their understanding of the universe and their place within it. The stars dictated the tempo of earthly existence. Constellations were often seen as animals or figures from their mythology. Like many cultures, the Maya grouped stars into constellations, but their patterns and interpretations differed from the Greco-Roman ones familiar today. They saw peccaries like wild pigs, turtles, serpents, jaguars, and other significant figures from their natural and mythological world written in the arrangements of the stars. The night sky was a canvas depicting sacred stories. The Milky Way was sometimes viewed as a great cosmic canoe or a world tree. The faint, luminous band of the Milky Way arching across the night sky held special significance. It was sometimes referred to as the Waka Chan, raised-up sky, or conceptualized as a great saber tree connecting the different levels of the cosmos. At other times, particularly when aligned with the ecliptic, it might have been seen as a celestial canoe carrying gods or ancestors across the heavens. Its orientation marked important cosmic boundaries. The precise alignment of some temples reflects careful astronomical observation. Beyond dedicated observatory structures, many major Mayan buildings exhibit deliberate astronomical alignments. Temple complexes might be oriented towards the sunrise or sunset points on solstices or equinoxes, or aligned with the rising or setting points of important stars or planets like Venus. This careful integration of architecture and astronomy underscores the centrality of celestial observation in their worldview. Stone structures were built in dialogue with the sky. The pyramid El Castillo at Chichen Itza creates a serpent shadow during the equinoxes. This iconic pyramid is perhaps the most famous example of Mayan architectural astronomy. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, as the sun sets, the shadows cast by the pyramid's northwest corner create the illusion of a giant serpent undulating down the side of the northern staircase, eventually joining a carved serpent head at the base. This stunning visual spectacle precisely marks the midpoint between the solstices. This alignment marks the quiet changing of the seasons. The descent of the serpent shadow on El Castillo served as a powerful public confirmation of the astronomical cycles governing the agricultural year. It was a visible manifestation of the cosmic order, reinforcing the connection between the celestial realm, the earthly cycle of planting and harvest, and the divine authority of the rulers who presided over these crucial transitions. Time's turning was made visible in stone and shadow. Astronomy helped them regulate their agricultural cycles. Precise knowledge of the solar year, the timing of the solstices and equinoxes, and potentially the cycles of Venus, also linked to rain patterns, was essential for successful agriculture in the Mayan world, particularly given the seasonal rainfall patterns of the region. The calendar and astronomical observations provided the necessary framework for knowing when to plant, harvest, and perform the associated agricultural ceremonies. Celestial knowledge guided earthly sustenance. Their observations were recorded in books called codices. The meticulous astronomical data gathered by Mayan observers, including eclipse tables and Venus cycles, were recorded in screenfold books made from bark paper. These codices served as reference manuals for priests and astronomers, preserving complex knowledge across generations. The few surviving examples offer a precious glimpse into the depth and sophistication of their celestial understanding. The night sky was a source of profound order and meaning. For the Maya, the regular, predictable movements of the celestial bodies stood in contrast to the often chaotic and unpredictable events of earthly life. The sky represented a realm of divine order, mathematical precision, and cyclical continuity. Observing and understanding these celestial patterns provided a source of stability, meaning, and connection to the sacred forces governing the cosmos. The heavens offered a map of enduring truth. The Maya developed the most sophisticated writing system in the ancient Americas. Emerging centuries before European contact, the Mayan hieroglyphic script was a true writing system capable of representing spoken language fully. It combined logograms, symbols representing whole words or concepts, with syllabograms, symbols representing phonetic syllables, allowing for flexibility in expressing complex ideas, historical narratives, and poetic nuances. It was a remarkable intellectual achievement. Their script used intricate hieroglyphs representing sounds and ideas. Mayan glyphs are visually complex and often aesthetically beautiful. Each glyph block typically contains a main sign accompanied by smaller affixes, which modify its meaning or phonetic reading. These blocks were usually arranged in double columns, read from left to right and top to bottom. Deciphering this intricate system required painstaking work, comparing inscriptions with known Mayan languages. The script is a form of visual poetry. Scribes were highly respected members of Mayan society. The ability to read and write the complex hieroglyphic script was a specialized skill, likely restricted to the elite class, including members of the royal family, priests and dedicated scribal specialists. Scribes, often depicted in Mayan art with their paint pots and brushes, held positions of importance, responsible for recording history, astronomical data, religious texts, and administrative matters. They were the keepers of knowledge and memory. They wrote on long strips of bark paper, folded like an accordion. The primary medium for Mayan books, or codices, was paper made from the inner bark of certain fig trees. This paper was treated with a smooth layer of lime plaster, stucco, to create a writing surface, then inscribed with glyphs using brushes and natural pigments. The long strips were folded screen fold style, allowing them to be opened and read section by section. These delicate books held centuries of accumulated knowledge. These books, called codices, contained knowledge of astronomy, divination, and history. Surviving examples, like the Dresden Codex, reveal the content of these lost libraries. They contained highly accurate astronomical tables for predicting celestial events, almanacs for divination, and scheduling rituals based on the Tzolk'in calendar, prophecies, mythological accounts, and potentially historical records. They were encyclopedias of Mayan sacred and scientific understanding. Only 4 Mayan codices are known to have survived the passage of time. Tragically, the vast majority of Mayan books were lost. Due to the humid climate of the region, organic materials like bark paper rarely survive for centuries. Furthermore, during the Spanish conquest, zealous missionaries viewed the codices as idolatrous and systematically destroyed many of them. The 4 codices that remain, known as the Dresden, Madrid, Paris, and Grolier, or Maya Codex of Mexico, are precious, fragile remnants of a vast library of knowledge, offering invaluable but incomplete windows into Mayan thought. They are rare survivors carrying immense historical weight. The Dresden Codex contains remarkably accurate astronomical tables. Considered the most complete and finely executed of the surviving codices, the Dresden Codex is a masterpiece of Mayan science. Created likely in the 11th or 12th century, it contains extensive sections dedicated to astronomy, including highly precise tables for predicting the cycles of Venus, eclipse seasons for the Sun and Moon, and potentially movements of other planets like Mars. Its mathematical accuracy demonstrates the profound level of observational skill and computational ability achieved by Mayan astronomer priests. It is a detailed astronomical handbook from another age. Much of their writing was carved onto stone monuments and temple walls. While the perishable codices held detailed knowledge, much of the public, historical, and religious record of the Maya was inscribed onto durable stone. Stelae, altars, lintels, stairways, and wall panels throughout Mayan cities bear intricate hieroglyphic texts. These inscriptions often focus on the lives and deeds of rulers, dynastic succession, warfare, alliances, and the dedication of monuments, usually anchored by precise long count dates. Stone provided a medium for enduring pronouncements. These inscriptions often recorded the deeds of kings and dynastic histories. Unlike the more astronomical or divinatory content of the codices, the monumental inscriptions serve primarily as political and historical records. They narrate the reigns of specific rulers, linking their actions to cosmological events and establishing their legitimacy through lineage and divine connection. These stone texts allow us to reconstruct the political landscape and dynastic sequences of many major Mayan cities during the Classic period. They are royal biographies etched for eternity. For centuries, the meaning of the glyphs was lost. Following the Spanish conquest and the decline of classic Mayan civilization, the knowledge of how to read the complex hieroglyphic script faded away. While the calendar system could still be partially understood from colonial-era sources, The narrative content of the inscriptions remained a profound mystery for hundreds of years. The intricate symbols became objects of speculation, their stories locked away in silence. The stones held secrets they could no longer speak. The patient work of scholars has now deciphered much of the Mayan script. Beginning in the mid-20th century and accelerating rapidly in recent decades, linguists, epigraphers, and archaeologists have made tremendous breakthroughs in understanding Mayan hieroglyphs. By combining insights from modern Mayan languages, comparisons between different inscriptions, and meticulous analysis of the glyphs' structure, recognizing their phonetic and logographic components, a large portion of the script can now be read. This ongoing decipherment has revolutionized our understanding of Mayan history and culture. We can now read the quiet histories they carved in stone. Thanks to the decipherment, the silent monuments have begun to speak again. We can now read the names of kings and queens, understand their political maneuvering, trace their family lines, and appreciate the poetry and complexity of their historical narratives. The Mayan past is no longer purely archaeological. It is increasingly becoming a textual history revealed through the voices of the Maya themselves. The inscriptions narrate a rich and complex past. Their writing system was flexible, allowing for artistic variation. Mayan scribes and sculptors often played with the visual form of the glyphs. They could substitute different signs that had the same phonetic value, homophones, arrange glyph blocks in creative ways, or even merge glyphs together into intricate, full figure forms where the signs themselves became tiny, detailed characters acting out the word. This artistic license makes the script visually dynamic, but also adds layers of complexity to its decipherment. Writing was also an art form. Scribes painted glyphs onto pottery and murals as well. Writing was not confined to stone and bark paper. Exquisite pottery vessels, often used in feasts or as funerary offerings, were frequently painted with hieroglyphic texts, sometimes describing the vessel's owner, its intended use, or scenes from mythology. Similarly, vibrant murals found within temples and palaces like those at Bonampak often incorporate glyphic captions identifying individuals and describing the events depicted. Knowledge permeated many aspects of elite material culture. Literacy was likely confined to the elite, nobles, priests, and scribes. Given the complexity of the script and the resources required to produce written materials, it is highly probable that the ability to read and write Mayan hieroglyphs was not widespread among the general population. Literacy was likely a specialized skill associated with the ruling class, the priesthood responsible for calendrical and religious knowledge, and the professional scribes and artists who served them. Writing was an instrument of power and sacred knowledge. Mayan cities were vast complexes of stone pyramids, temples, palaces, and plazas. Classic Mayan urban centers were impressive feats of engineering and labor coordination. The core areas typically featured monumental structures arranged around open plazas. Towering pyramids served as ceremonial platforms and sometimes funerary monuments. Multi-room palace structures likely housed the ruling elite or served administrative functions. Temples crowned the pyramids or stood independently for religious rituals. These stone hearts pulsed with the civic and ceremonial life of the community. Tikal, in Guatemala, was one of the largest and most powerful Mayan cities. Dominating the Petén rainforest for centuries, Tikal was a sprawling metropolis with a population potentially reaching towards 100,000 at its peak. Its monumental core boasts some of the tallest structures in the ancient Americas, including 6 major temple pyramids. Extensive causeways linked different parts of the city, and vast reservoirs collected rainwater. Tikal stood as a major political and cultural force throughout much of the classic period. It was a giant among Mayan centers. Its tallest pyramid, Temple 4, rises over 200 feet above the jungle floor. Topping out at approximately 230 feet, 70 meters, Temple 4 offers breathtaking panoramic views above the surrounding rainforest canopy. Its construction represents an enormous investment of labor and resources, a testament to the power an ambition of the Tikal rulers who commissioned it, likely around the mid-8th century AD. Ascending its steep stairway connects one physically to the scale of Mayan architectural achievement. It reached towards the heavens observed by its builders. Chichen Itza in Mexico is famous for its blend of Mayan and Toltec styles. Flourishing later than the southern cities, Chichen Itza in the northern Yucatan showcases a fascinating fusion of architectural and artistic influences. Alongside traditional Mayan elements like the Caracol Observatory, one finds structures like the Temple of the Warriors with its columns carved as Toltec warriors, and the imposing El Castillo Pyramid, Temple of Kukulkan, reflecting connections with cultures from central Mexico. It was a cosmopolitan center where different traditions met. Palenque, nestled in the hills of Chiapas, is known for its elegant architecture and detailed carvings. Situated amidst lush, rolling hills, Palenque possesses a unique aesthetic charm. Its buildings feature delicate stucco sculptures, intricate roof combs, and some of the finest relief carvings found in the Mayan world. The palace complex, with its distinctive four-story tower and the beautifully preserved Temple of the Inscriptions, are highlights of its refined architectural style. It represents Mayan artistry at its most graceful. The Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque housed the tomb of a great ruler, Pakal. In 1952, archaeologists discovered a hidden passageway inside this temple, leading down to a magnificent burial chamber deep within the pyramid's base. Inside lay the sarcophagus of Kinich Janab Pakal, who ruled Palenque for 68 years in the 7th century. The discovery of this intact royal tomb, complete with rich grave goods and the intricately carved sarcophagus lid, provided unprecedented insights into Mayan funerary practices and beliefs about the afterlife. The pyramid served as both temple and royal mausoleum. Calakmul was Tikal's great rival, a sprawling city deep in the Campeche rainforest. Hidden within a vast biosphere reserve, Calakmul was another Mayan superpower, frequently clashing with Tikal for dominance of the southern lowlands. Its ruins include numerous pyramids. Structure 2 is even taller than Tikal's Temple Waufo, and an extraordinary number of stelae, over 120, more than any other Mayan site. These monuments record its long dynastic history and its complex network of political alliances. It was the center of an opposing political sphere. Uxmal features unique Puke-style architecture with intricate mosaic facades. Located in the Puke Hills region of the Yucatan, Uxmal showcases a distinctive architectural style characterized by finely cut stone veneers arranged into elaborate mosaic patterns on the upper facades of buildings. Structures like the Pyramid of the Magician with its unusual rounded corners and the Nunnery Quadrangle, decorated with geometric frets and masks of the rain god Chak, exemplify this elegant and highly ornate regional style. Stone was worked into intricate, repeating patterns. Copan in Honduras is renowned for its elaborate stele and hieroglyphic stairway. Situated in a fertile river valley at the southeastern edge of the Mayan world, Copan developed a unique artistic tradition. Its rulers erected numerous large stelae carved in exceptionally high relief, depicting richly costumed figures. The site is also famous for its hieroglyphic stairway, a monumental staircase whose risers are inscribed with over 2,000 glyphs, constituting the longest known Mayan text, detailing the history of the Copan dynasty. It is a city famed for its sculptural artistry. Cities were not laid out on rigid grids, but grew organically over centuries. Unlike the strict grid patterns of some other ancient cities, like Teotihuacan, Mayan centers tended to expand more organically. The monumental core might have a planned layout, often aligned cosmologically, but the surrounding residential areas typically followed the contours of the land. Cities grew through gradual accretion over many generations, reflecting a more decentralized structure and adaptation to the natural terrain. Their layout followed the land's own patterns. Raised stone causeways called sac-biob often connected important parts of a city or linked nearby centers. To facilitate movement and communication, the Maya constructed elevated roadways built of limestone rubble and surfaced with plaster. These sac-biob, singular, sac-bi, meaning white roads, connected major temple complexes, residential groups within a city, or sometimes even linked entirely separate cities across distances of many miles. They represented significant investments in infrastructure, defining pathways through the landscape. These white roads sometimes stretched for dozens of miles through the jungle. Some intercity sac-biob were impressive engineering feats, running remarkably straight for distances up to 60 miles, 100 kilometers, like the one connecting Koba to Yaksuna. These causeways facilitated trade, communication, and potentially the movement of pilgrims or armies between allied centers, knitting the Mayan world together across the challenging rainforest terrain. They were arteries connecting the disparate parts of the civilization. Buildings were often constructed with limestone, covered in stucco and painted bright colors. The seemingly bare stone ruins we see today give a misleading impression. Mayan structures were typically coated with a thick layer of stucco, lime plaster, which provided a smooth surface for decoration. This stucco was then often painted in vibrant hues, particularly reds, but also blues, greens, yellows, and blacks. Mayan cities would have been colorful, visually dynamic places, not the monochrome stone skeletons we encounter now. The past was vividly painted. The characteristic Mayan arch was not a true arch, but a corbelled vault. Mayan builders did not use the keystone principle to create true arches. Instead, they employed the corbelled vault technique. Successive layers of stone blocks were cantilevered slightly inward from both sides until they met at the top, sometimes capped by a flat stone. This created a strong, stable, but relatively narrow triangular opening, a distinctive feature of Mayan interior spaces. It was an ingenious solution using simpler structural principles. Large plazas served as public gathering spaces for ceremonies and markets. The open, paved plazas situated between the major pyramids and palaces were the civic and ceremonial hearts of Mayan cities. These expansive spaces could accommodate large crowds for religious festivals, royal inaugurations, astronomical observations, judicial proceedings, and potentially market activities. They were the communal stages upon which the public life of the city unfolded. Bloodletting rituals were practiced by rulers to communicate with ancestors and gods. For the Maya, blood was a vital life force and a medium for connecting with the sacred realm. Rulers, both male and female, would perform ritual bloodletting, often piercing sensitive areas like the tongue, ears, or genitals with sharp implements like obsidian blades or stingray spines. The offered blood was believed to nourish the gods and open a channel for communication, sometimes inducing visionary states through which ancestors or deities could manifest. These were solemn, private acts performed for the well-being of the community. Human sacrifice occurred, though perhaps less frequently than among some other cultures. While prevalent in Mayan art and mythology, the scale of human sacrifice among the classic Maya appears to have been less extensive than, for example, among the later Aztecs. Sacrifices were typically associated with major events like the dedication of temples, the accession or death of rulers, or important calendar cycle endings. Captives taken in warfare were often the victims, their sacrifice seen as a necessary offering to maintain cosmic order and appease the gods. It was a somber aspect of their worldview. Caves and cenotes were seen as sacred portals to the underworld. The natural openings into the earth held profound religious significance for the Maya. Caves were viewed as entrances to Xibalba, the subterranean realm of the dead, and various powerful deities. Cenotes, the deep water-filled sinkholes, were similarly revered as sacred thresholds. Offerings, including pottery, jade, and sometimes human remains, have been found dredged from the depths of cenotes. suggesting their role as places of pilgrimage and ritual communication with the underworld. They were liminal spaces between worlds. The saber tree was considered a sacred world tree connecting the different cosmic realms. The towering saber, or silk cotton tree, with its broad canopy and deep roots, held a central place in Mayan cosmology. It was often depicted as the Wakachan, the world tree, whose branches reached into the heavens, the realm of the upper gods, whose trunk stood in the earthly realm, and whose roots penetrated deep into the underworld, Xibalba. It represented the axis mundi, the central pillar connecting and sustaining the entire cosmos. It was the living embodiment of the universe's structure. Ancestor veneration played an important role in family and community life. The Maya maintained strong connections with their deceased relatives. Ancestors were believed to continue influencing the world of the living, offering guidance and requiring respect. Family shrines, burials within residential compounds, and rituals honoring the dead were common practices. Royal dynasties, in particular, emphasized their lineage and connection to powerful founding ancestors as a source of legitimacy and divine favor. The past remained an active presence in the present. Time itself was imbued with sacred qualities, with certain days being auspicious or dangerous. The intricate calendar systems were not just for measuring time, but also for divination. Each day in the Tzolk'in calendar carried specific auguries and was associated with particular deities and influences. Priests interpreted these complex patterns to determine favorable times for activities like planting, warfare, marriage, or royal coronations, and to identify periods requiring caution or specific rituals. Time itself possessed a spiritual character that shaped human destiny. The Maya thrived for centuries in a challenging tropical rainforest environment. Their long-term success demonstrates a remarkable adaptation to the complexities of the lowland tropics. They managed to sustain large populations, build monumental cities, and develop a sophisticated culture in an environment characterized by dense vegetation, high humidity, intense seasonal rainfall, and relatively thin soils. Their civilization is a testament to human resilience and ingenuity in harnessing the resources of a demanding ecosystem. They developed sophisticated water management systems, including reservoirs and canals. Controlling and storing water was critical, especially in areas with distinct wet and dry seasons. The Maya engineered extensive systems to manage water resources. They constructed large paved reservoirs, aguadas, near city centers to capture and store rainwater. In some areas, they built canals for transportation and potentially for directing water towards agricultural fields. Their ability to manage water was key to their urban success. Their cities were carefully integrated into the natural landscape. Mayan urban planning often respected and utilized the existing topography. Plazas and residential areas might be adapted to hills and valleys. Natural depressions were sometimes modified into reservoirs. Temples were frequently built atop existing rises in the terrain, enhancing their visibility and symbolic connection to the sacred landscape. Their cities grew in dialogue with the earth they occupied. They utilized the rich biodiversity of the rainforest for food, medicine, and materials. The surrounding jungle provided a wealth of resources beyond staple crops. The Maya hunted game like deer and peccaries, gathered fruits, nuts, and edible plants, and utilized numerous plants for medicinal purposes. Timber and palm thatch provided building materials, while other forest products like resins, copal incense, feathers from quetzals and macaws, and animal pelts, jaguar, were important for ritual and trade. The forest was their larder, pharmacy, and hardware store. Understanding the seasonal rains was crucial for their survival. Mayan agriculture, particularly maize cultivation, was heavily dependent on the predictable arrival of the rainy season. Their calendar systems and astronomical observations likely played a vital role in tracking the seasons and determining the optimal times for planting and harvesting. Failure of the rains or unpredictable shifts in weather patterns could have devastating consequences for food production and social stability. Life revolved around the rhythm of rainfall. Periods of drought likely placed significant stress on their civilization. Paleoclimate studies indicate that the Mayan region experienced several severe, multi-decadal droughts during the Classic period, particularly around the 9th century AD. These prolonged dry spells would have severely impacted agricultural yields, strained water resources, and potentially contributed to social unrest, warfare, and the eventual decline of the major southern cities. The civilization was vulnerable to the caprices of climate. Deforestation and soil erosion may have occurred around densely populated cities. Supporting large urban populations required extensive agriculture. It's likely that areas around major cities experienced significant deforestation as land was cleared for farming and timber was harvested for construction and fuel. This could have led to soil erosion and nutrient depletion over time, potentially reducing agricultural productivity and contributing to environmental stress in some regions. Sustaining density had ecological costs. Their success demonstrates a deep knowledge of their ecosystem. Despite the eventual challenges, the fact that Mayan civilization flourished for so long in the rainforest indicates a sophisticated understanding of their environment. They developed sustainable agricultural techniques, managed forest resources, and adapted their settlement patterns to the landscape. Their knowledge systems, integrating practical experience with cosmological beliefs, allowed them to navigate the complexities of their tropical world for centuries. They adapted their building and farming techniques to the local geography. The Mayan world was not uniform. Techniques varied across different regions. In the hilly Puke region, cities utilized cisterns, chultuns, carved into the bedrock to store rainwater. In swampy river valleys, raised fields, chinampas, though less extensive than in central Mexico, were employed. Architectural styles also adapted to local materials and topography. Their ingenuity was tailored to place. The classic Mayan civilization experienced a decline between the 8th and 9th centuries AD. This period, often termed the Classic Maya Collapse, saw a cessation of monumental construction and stellar carving in many major cities of the southern lowlands, like Tikal, Calakmul, Palenque. Populations declined significantly, and these once great centers were gradually abandoned and reclaimed by the jungle. It marks a major transition in Mayan history. Many large southern cities were gradually abandoned. The decline was not a sudden event, but a process that unfolded over several generations. Different cities experienced crises at slightly different times. People didn't simply vanish. Populations likely dispersed into smaller rural settlements or migrated towards the northern Yucatan and highlands, where Mayan culture continued to evolve. The great urban experiment in the south slowly wound down. The exact reasons for this collapse are still debated by scholars. There is no single, universally accepted explanation. Most researchers now favor a complex systems model involving multiple interacting factors that varied by region. Potential contributors include endemic warfare between city-states, overpopulation straining resources, environmental degradation, deforestation, soil erosion, prolonged and severe droughts impacting agriculture, and the breakdown of elite political and religious authority. It was likely a confluence of pressures. Likely factors include prolonged drought, endemic warfare, overpopulation, and political instability. Evidence from lake sediments points to significant droughts coinciding with the decline. Inscriptions increasingly focus on warfare and capture. Archaeological evidence suggests large populations were pushing the limits of the agricultural systems. The failure of rulers to ensure prosperity and maintain cosmic order, perhaps exacerbated by environmental crises, could have led to loss of faith and social upheaval. Multiple stresses likely overwhelmed the system's resilience. It was likely a complex combination of factors varying by region. The specific sequence and emphasis of these factors probably differed from city to city. Some centers might have succumbed primarily to ecological pressures, others to political conflict, while many likely experienced a combination. The decline was not a monolithic event, but a mosaic of regional processes leading to a widespread transformation of Mayan society in the southern lowlands. The decline was not a single event, but a slow process over generations. The term collapse can be misleading if it implies a sudden, catastrophic end. The abandonment of cities and the decline in population density occurred gradually over a period of perhaps 100 to 150 years. It was a slow unraveling, a gradual shift away from the centralized political and ceremonial structures of the classic period towards different forms of social organization. Mayan culture did not disappear. Northern cities like Chichen Itza flourished later. While the southern cities declined, Mayan civilization continued and adapted, particularly in the northern Yucatan Peninsula. Cities like Chichen Itza and later Mayapan rose to prominence during the post-classic period, roughly 900–1500 AD, developing distinct political structures and engaging in extensive maritime trade networks. Mayan culture underwent transformation, not extinction. Millions of Maya people live today in Mexico and Central America. The descendants of the ancient Maya form a vibrant and diverse array of communities across Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, and southern Mexico. They speak dozens of distinct Mayan languages, maintain unique cultural traditions, and continue to adapt their heritage within the context of the modern world. The Mayan story is an ongoing one. They continue to speak Mayan languages and maintain cultural traditions. Despite centuries of colonization and pressure towards assimilation, Mayan languages remain widely spoken, and many traditional practices related to agriculture, weaving, cosmology, and community governance persist. Contemporary Maya people are actively engaged in preserving and revitalizing their rich cultural heritage. The ancient roots continue to nourish living cultures. Many ancient skills like intricate weaving are still practiced. The complex patterns and techniques seen in ancient Mayan textiles, depicted in murals and sculptures, continue to be practiced by Maya weavers today, particularly women. This traditional craft is not just a skill, but a vital form of cultural expression, encoding identity, cosmology, and community history in vibrant threads. Ancient artistry lives on in modern hands. The decipherment of their writing has revolutionized our understanding of their history. Moving beyond purely archaeological interpretations, the ability to read Mayan hieroglyphs has provided direct access to their own voices, histories, and beliefs. It has transformed our view of the Maya from anonymous builders of mysterious temples into complex societies with named rulers, detailed political histories, and sophisticated intellectual traditions. The texts brought the stones to life. Archaeological work continues to uncover new sites and insights. Exploration of the Mayan world is far from over. New technologies like LiDAR, light detection and ranging, are revealing previously unknown structures hidden beneath the dense jungle canopy, showing that Mayan settlement was even more extensive than previously thought. Ongoing excavations continue to yield new inscriptions, artifacts, and data that refine our understanding of their civilization. The past still holds many secrets. They conceived of time not as a line, but as repeating, interwoven cycles. While the long count provided a linear framework, the Maya also emphasized the cyclical nature of time. Events and influences associated with specific days in their sacred calendars were expected to recur when those days returned in later cycles. History was seen partly as a repeating pattern, with the past informing the present and the future. Time was a spiral, not just an arrow. They tracked a 260-day sacred calendar called the Tzolk'in. This fundamental calendar combined a cycle of 13 numbers with a cycle of 20-day names, like Imix, Ik, Akbal. Each unique combination formed a specific day designation within the 260-day count. This calendar was primarily used for divination, scheduling ceremonies, and determining auspicious dates for important activities. It represented the sacred rhythm underlying human life and cosmic events. They also used a 365-day solar calendar called the Harb, similar to our own. The Harb approximated the solar year and was used primarily for agricultural and seasonal purposes. It consisted of 18 months of 20 days each, plus a final unlucky period of 5 days called the Wayeb. While less accurate than their calculation of the true solar year, the Harb provided the essential framework for organizing the practical aspects of the annual cycle. It was the clock of the seasons. These two calendars interlocked like gears, creating a 52-year cycle called the calendar round. A specific date required designations from both the Tzolk'in and the Harb calendars, e.g. 4 Ahol, 8 Kumku. Since 260 and 365 share common factors, a particular combination would only repeat every 18,180 days, or approximately 52 years. This 52-year period, the calendar round, was a significant cycle in Mayan timekeeping, roughly equivalent to a generation. The interlocking cycles created a larger temporal pattern. They understood the concept of zero centuries before many other cultures. Essential for their sophisticated place-value numerical system was the independent invention of a concept and symbol for zero. This mathematical breakthrough allowed them to represent large numbers efficiently and perform complex calculations needed for their calendar and astronomy. It signifies a profound level of abstract mathematical thought achieved remarkably early. Their symbol for zero was often a shell shape, representing completion or emptiness. Visually distinct from the dots and bars used for other numbers, the Mayan symbol for zero often resembled a stylized shell. This choice might reflect ideas of completion, the end of a count, or perhaps the emptiness inherent in the concept of null value. Its presence was crucial for the positional notation that underpinned their mathematical achievements. It was a symbol for absence, enabling representation of presence. Their mathematical system used a base 20 for decimal count, perhaps inspired by fingers and toes. Unlike our base 10 system, Mayan mathematics was based on powers of 20. Numbers were written vertically, with positions representing units, 20s, 400s, 20 kicks 20, 8,000s, 20 xic 20 xic 20, and so on. This vigesimal system likely originated from counting using both fingers and toes, grounding their abstract mathematics in the human form. They used only 3 symbols, a dot, a bar, and a shell, to represent any number. The elegance of the Mayan system lay in its simplicity. A dot signified 1, a bar signified 5, and the shell symbol signified 0. By combining dots up to 4 and bars up to 3 within each positional level, and using the 0 symbol to indicate empty positions, they could write numbers of immense magnitude with remarkable economy and clarity. It was a system of profound numerical elegance. A dot represented 1, a bar represented 5. Numbers from 1 to 19 were built up additively using these symbols. 1 was a single dot, 2 was 2 dots, 5 was a bar, 6 was a bar, and 1 dot, 10 was 2 bars, and 19 was 3 bars and 4 dots. This clear and logical structure formed the basis for each level in their place value system. Simple components created numerical complexity. They could perform complex calculations, predicting astronomical events with precision. Using their base 20 system and their deep understanding of cycles, Mayan astronomers could calculate planetary positions, predict eclipses, and determine the precise length of the solar year and lunar month with an accuracy unmatched in Europe until centuries later. Their mathematics was a powerful tool for deciphering the intricate rhythms of the cosmos. Their understanding of time's cycles shaped their entire worldview. Time was not merely a way to measure duration for the Maya. It was a fundamental sacred force that influenced all aspects of existence. The repeating cycles of the calendars were believed to carry specific auguries and divine influences. Understanding these cycles was essential for maintaining harmony between the human world and the cosmos, guiding everything from royal succession to to planting crops. Time was the organizing principle of reality. The end of a long count cycle in 2012 was misinterpreted as an end-of-the-world prediction. The long count calendar marked the completion of its 13th Baktun cycle on December 23, 2012. Modern popular culture widely misinterpreted this date as a Mayan prophecy of apocalypse. However, for the ancient Maya, the completion of such a cycle simply signified the end of one great epoch and the beginning of another, an occasion for ceremony and renewal, not destruction. It was the turning of a page, not the end of the book. For the Maya, it simply marked the quiet turning of a great cosmic page. Just as our calendar rolls over from December 31st to January 1st, the end of the 13th Baktun represented a significant but natural transition within their vast conception of time. It was analogous to the odometer on a car reaching a significant number and rolling over to start again, marking a milestone within a much longer, ongoing journey. It was a moment of cyclical completion, not finality. They recorded important dates on stone monuments called stelae. Across the Mayan world, rulers erected tall, sculpted stone slabs known as stelae, often paired with round altars. These monuments were typically carved with portraits of the ruler and lengthy hieroglyphic inscriptions detailing their ancestry, key life events, birth, accession, marriage, military victories, and important ritual dates usually recorded in the long count. They served as public proclamations of power and historical records etched in stone. Time was a sacred, living entity in their cosmology. The various cycles of the calendar were not just abstract measurements, but were often personified as divine burdens carried by specific gods. The passage of time was seen as a procession of these divine bearers, each day inheriting the sacred influences of its position within the multiple interlocking cycles. Time itself possessed a spiritual dimension, actively shaping destiny. They calculated the length of the solar year with remarkable accuracy. Through centuries of meticulous observation, Mayan astronomers determined the length of the tropical year to be approximately 365.242 days. This is incredibly close to the modern value, about 365.2422 days, and slightly more accurate than the 365.435 days implied by the Gregorian calendar's leap year system. This precision highlights their sophisticated observational methods and mathematical prowess. Their system allowed for immense spans of time to be recorded easily. The place value nature of the long count calendar, combined with its base 20 structure, made it straightforward to record dates stretching millions or even billions of years into the past or future. While primarily used for historical dates, the system possessed the capacity to handle truly astronomical timescales, reflecting their profound contemplation of deep time. Mayan astronomers carefully charted the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. Observing the sky was a state-sponsored activity crucial for both religious and practical purposes. Astronomer priests used dedicated observation points, often aligning buildings with key celestial rising or setting points to track the regular paths of celestial bodies. They paid particular attention to the sun for seasons and the calendar, the moon for eclipse prediction, and the bright planets, especially Venus. The sky was a celestial clock and a divine script. Cities often contained dedicated observatory structures. While formal observatories with telescopes did not exist, certain buildings within Mayan cities appear specifically designed for astronomical observation. These structures often feature specific window alignments or sight lines oriented towards key positions on the horizon where the sun, moon, or Venus would rise or set on significant dates. Such as solstices or equinoxes, architecture was aligned with the cosmos. The lost knowledge of the Maya, particularly in astronomy and mathematics, inspires wonder. The precision of their calendar, their understanding of zero, and their ability to predict celestial events stand as remarkable intellectual achievements of the ancient world. Contemplating their sophisticated systems, developed in isolation from old-world traditions, evokes a sense of wonder at the diverse paths of human intellectual exploration. Their abandoned cities, swallowed by the jungle, evoke a sense of mystery. The image of great stone pyramids and temples half buried in vines and roots is powerfully romantic and mysterious. These quiet ruins, once centers of bustling life and complex ceremony, now stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time and the relentless power of nature to reclaim human endeavors. They invite contemplation on the rise and fall of civilizations. The complexity of their society challenges simplistic notions of ancient cultures. The Maya demonstrate that sophisticated achievements in writing, mathematics, art, and astronomy could arise outside the familiar narratives centered on Europe and the Near East. Their decentralized political structure, their adaptation to a rainforest environment, and their unique worldview offer valuable counterpoints to generalized models of ancient civilizations. They represent a distinct and complex branch of the human story. The Maya created beauty and order amidst the wildness of the jungle. Their monumental architecture, intricate art, precise calendars, and complex social structures represent a determined effort to impose human order and meaning onto a powerful and often unpredictable natural world. They carved spaces of profound cultural significance directly into the heart of the rainforest, demonstrating a unique synthesis of human creativity and natural environment. Their pyramids reached towards the heavens they studied so closely. The verticality of Mayan temple pyramids served a practical function, elevating temples above the plaza, but also held deep symbolic meaning. They represented artificial mountains, sacred points of connection between the earthly realm and the celestial sphere that Mayan astronomers observed with such dedication. The structures physically mirrored their cosmological focus. They measured time with a patience that mirrored the jungle's slow growth. Mayan civilization developed over millennia, and their conception of time embraced vast cycles spanning thousands of years. This long-term perspective seems resonant with the slow, patient, and cyclical rhythms of the rainforest ecosystem they inhabited. Their understanding of duration possessed an organic, unhurried quality. Their concept of zero provided a foundation for complex thought. The invention of zero was not just a mathematical convenience. It represented a profound conceptual leap, enabling abstract calculation and the efficient representation of large numbers essential for their calendar and astronomy. It was a tool that unlocked new possibilities for understanding and quantifying the cosmos. Absence became a key to numerical power. The silence of their ruined cities speaks volumes about the passage of time. Walking through the quiet plazas of Tikal or Palenque today, surrounded by towering stone structures slowly being reclaimed by nature, offers a powerful meditation on impermanence. The absence of the sounds and activities that once filled these spaces underscores the immense temporal distance separating us from the classic Maya world. Silence becomes a language of history. They understood cycles of seasons, of stars, of life itself. Central to the Mayan worldview was the recognition of recurring patterns in nature and time. The cycle of rain and sun, the phases of the moon, the synodic period of Venus, the human lifespan, the rise and fall of dynasties, all were seen as interwoven rhythms within a larger cosmic order. Their calendars and cosmology were attempts to map and harmonize with these fundamental cycles. Their art captured both the divine and the everyday with grace. Mayan art encompasses monumental sculptures of gods and kings performing sacred rituals, but also finely painted pottery depicting mythological scenes, courtly life, and even humorous portrayals of animals or daily activities. This range reflects a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were closely intertwined, and where artistic expression permeated many levels of society. Maize was not just food, but a connection to their creation story. As the staple crop that sustained their civilization, maize held profound religious significance. According to the Popol Vuh, the gods fashioned the first true humans from maize dough. Cultivating maize was therefore not just agriculture, but a sacred act, participating in the ongoing cycle of creation and sustenance ordained by the divine. The plant embodied their very substance. The accuracy of their calendar remains a quiet marvel. Achieving such precise measurements of astronomical cycles using naked-eye observation and sophisticated mathematics stands as a remarkable intellectual feat. It reflects centuries of dedicated, patient observation and a deep cultural commitment to understanding the temporal order of the cosmos. Their grasp of celestial timekeeping was extraordinary. The long count provided a vast temporal landscape for their history. By placing historical events within the framework of the continuously running long count calendar, the Maya created a sense of deep historical perspective. Dynasties could trace their lineage back centuries, anchoring their legitimacy in a vast and precisely measured chronology. It provided an immense stage upon which their history unfolded. Cenotes were quiet, sacred pools connecting the earth to the underworld. These natural wells were more than just water sources. They were liminal spaces, thresholds between the world of the living and the subterranean realm of Xibalba. Offerings cast into their depths were direct communications with the chthonic deities. Their still, deep waters reflected the sky but led down into profound mystery. The hieroglyphs are intricate puzzles whispering stories from the past. Each glyph block is a miniature work of art, combining phonetic signs and logograms in complex arrangements. Deciphering them involves solving linguistic and iconographic puzzles, gradually revealing the names, dates, and events recorded by Mayan scribes centuries ago. They are keys that unlock a lost narrative, whispering across time. Pakal's jade mask is a serene face staring out from antiquity. The funerary mask found in the tomb of Pakal the Great at Palenque, composed of hundreds of pieces of polished jade, creating a lifelike and tranquil portrait, is one of the masterpieces of Mayan art. It represents the ruler's transition into divinity, a calm and eternal visage intended to endure beyond death. It is a face of profound stillness gazing across 13 centuries. The corbelled vault is a testament to their unique architectural ingenuity. Lacking the keystone, Mayan builders perfected the technique of overlapping stones to create stable interior spaces and arched openings. This distinctive architectural solution, found throughout their temples and palaces, demonstrates their mastery of materials and structural principles within their own technological tradition. It is a signature of their unique building style. The ballgame courts remain silent arenas of ancient ritual. The ubiquitous eye-shaped ball courts found in Mayan cities hosted games that were likely part athletic contest, part political spectacle, and part sacred ritual. While the exact rules and meanings varied, the game often carried cosmological significance, perhaps reenacting mythical struggles. The empty courts today evoke a sense of this lost, dynamic, and spiritually charged activity. Their understanding of Venus reveals a deep connection to the cosmos. The meticulous tracking of Venus's cycles, far beyond simple observation, indicates its profound importance in Mayan thought. Associating its appearances with warfare and rulership suggests they believed this celestial body actively influenced earthly affairs. Their astronomical knowledge was deeply integrated with their understanding of power and destiny. The Popol Vuh offers a glimpse into a rich and quiet spiritual world. This collection of myths and legends from the Quiché Maya provides invaluable insight into Mayan cosmology, the pantheon of gods, the creation of humanity, and the epic journey of the hero twins. It reveals a worldview rich in symbolism, metaphor, and a deep sense of connection between the natural and supernatural realms. It is a surviving fragment of a vast oral and literary tradition. The Maya demonstrate the enduring power of human adaptation and creativity. Their ability to build a complex, literate, and artistically rich civilization within the challenging rainforest environment, developing unique solutions in agriculture, architecture, mathematics, and writing, showcases the remarkable adaptability and creative potential inherent in human societies. They represent a distinct and highly successful path of cultural development. Their legacy lives on in their descendants and the quiet stones they left behind. The story of the Maya is not confined to the past. Millions of Maya people today carry forward aspects of their language, culture, and worldview. Furthermore, the magnificent ruins of their ancient cities continue to stand as powerful, silent monuments, inspiring awe and providing invaluable knowledge about this extraordinary civilization. The past continues to resonate in the present. The story of the Maya is a profound meditation on civilization, time, and the quiet rhythms of the earth. Contemplating their long history, their deep connection to celestial cycles, their intricate society built within the rainforest, and the eventual transformation of their great cities offers a rich field for reflection. Their story invites us to consider the relationship between human culture and the natural world, the vastness of time, and the enduring quest for meaning and order within the cosmos. It is a quiet echo calling us to contemplate deeper patterns. And so our tranquil passage through the verdant world of the ancient Maya draws to a gentle close. We have wandered among silent pyramids wrapped in jungle green, deciphered the quiet rhythms of their intricate calendars, and glimpsed a civilization deeply connected to the earth and the stars. The echoes of their history, their art, and their profound understanding of time can now soften like mist receding from the rainforest canopy, leaving only a sense of deep peace. It is time to let it all go. We have explored a world where cities rose from the jungle, where time was woven into sacred cycles, and where the movements of Venus held sway over earthly affairs. We have felt the quiet patience of a civilization that endured for millennia, leaving behind legacies in stone and in the vibrant cultures of their descendants today. Let the sense of this deep continuity, this connection across vast stretches of time, be a source of profound calm. The same earth that supported their great cities now supports you as you rest. The same celestial bodies they charted continue their serene dance across the night sky above you. You are part of the same enduring human story, the same quest for understanding and meaning within the vastness of time. Find comfort in this quiet, shared heritage under the same enduring stars. And now, as you allow yourself to drift further into the welcoming quiet of sleep, release all thoughts of ancient calendars and jungle cities. Allow your mind to become as still and peaceful as a forgotten temple courtyard at midnight. There are no more glyphs to decipher, no more histories to trace. Your only task is to surrender to rest, to allow the gentle tide of sleep to carry you into a state of deep and dreamless peace. May your rest be restorative and your dreams serene. Good night.